Hello and welcome to Goose Chats. We're so excited you're here. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yay! We have Audrey Morris here to talk about cotton patch geese today. We're super duper excited. I'm going to apologize in advance to my dog. She has a lot to say about geese as well. I'm Brittany, Sweeney, and I'm a communications manager with the Livestock Conservancy. And Audrey, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, my name is Audrey Morris. I'm owner-operator of Morris Meadows Farm. We started our farm almost 5 years ago, I guess. I grew up on a farm, but moved away from a farm when I was, in my early teens. So I feel like I'm back home now, being on a farm and everything. We raise chickens for eggs, and I do sell chickens for broilers, for meat birds, and I do sell those too. And of course, cotton patch geese, and I really love raising my geese. They're probably so much fun, and I have turkeys now too. So
that's super exciting. Well, before we get started and jump in with a conversation about geese, I just want to remind everyone to send us your questions, type them in as a comment, and I'm going to play a quick little video from Mana Pro and thank them for sponsoring the chat today. So we'll be right back in 1 minute.
Champions, colleagues,
roommates,
and personal trainers.
Whatever role they play,
they're an important part of our lives.
In their quiet way,
and their not so quiet way.
They keep us young.
On our feet,
on the go.
They pull us back to nature.
And push us toward the next adventure.
And as much as we count on them,
they count on us all the more.
To nurture their lives.
With the same commitment.
To protecting them.
Helping them grow.
And thrive.
Treating them.
As well as they treat us. By giving them a little more of our lives. Because no matter what role they play, out here
or in here,
we're here to make their lives the best they can be.
Mana Pro, nurturing life.
All right, welcome back, and thank you again to Mana Pro for sponsoring the Goose Chat today. We appreciate your support and your support of heritage breeds. And now I am super excited to talk about geese. I love geese. They're one of my favorite animals on the farm. I got the bug and I have 3 right now. So it makes me the resident goose person. It's hard not to love them.
Yeah.
Audrey, how did you get started with cotton patch geese?
Well, like a lot of people do, I was just thumbing through Facebook one day and saw a little article on cotton patch geese. And I'm like, okay, I've never heard of these. And I wanted to have geese on the farm, and I've never had geese before. And I've always wanted them growing up and stuff. So I read through it and watched the article and read, they are sexually dimorphic. Ooh, I'm auto-sexing. I like that, because I have chickens, and I started off with black sex-linked because of the, auto-sexing capability of them. I thought, they have a goose that can do that? So I looked at, again, reading more about it, and I think the article was from Denise Fry, actually, and learned that they have a very sweet temperament, and they lay once a year, and I thought, I could do this. So set me on the long path to getting some geese, which I actually got pretty quickly. I was surprised, and these actually came from Denise secondhand. A gal who bought a trio from Denise moved to Nebraska, and they were moving out of state and to be closer to the grandchildren, and they didn't have any place for their geese. So I'm like, I'll come get them. Get them. So I drove. It's about 4 hours one way to go pick up the geese, and haven't looked back since. Just love them.
That's awesome. Well, what has your journey been like? Have you had any challenges or anything that you think people should know when they're first getting started?
Yeah, they are a goose, but they're very, very sweet, and they do need a kind of their own environment. If you're going to be raising them, if you're going to have more than just a few for fun and pets, then they do need their own separate environment because they are the dominant bird. And a lot of us farmers have chickens, right? And they are the dominant bird of the chickens. So if you think that the chicken feed is going to be safe from the geese, not so much. Because, even the turkeys think that they're going to bully my geese around. Not so much. But if you're going to if you plan on raising them, especially if they lay eggs, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are like, do they lay eggs all year long? No. Before you get any breed, you really should be doing some really good research on that breed and that animal and understand their requirements and their needs. And having your environment in safe, secure environment is very important, just like any other livestock animal. And I do consider them a livestock animal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're definitely livestock. Well, what are some of those environmental things that they need?
This time of year, especially here in Kansas, we are going to be having blizzard conditions Wednesday night, Thursday, and Friday. So they need to be able to get out of the wind. They need a wind block. They don't need heaters. They can handle cold. It's the wind chill. But if they have a wind block and some nice bedding like everybody else likes, they'll be fine outside. I have a couple of different facilities for them, but this time of year when they're not breeding, from fall on, they are in a one goose hut, all of them together, and they're just in that at night. And it's got lots of fluffy bedding in there, and it's got plastic all the way around, so it is nice and toasty in there when you've got 11 geese in there, and it's plenty big for them. Again, it's just at night. I do have a shelter for them to get into. I'll open the gates because they can't get through the gates. Open the gate and they can get in there, and it's a lean-to shelter that they can get in, and they will be just fine. But they do need to get them out of the cold, just like you see all these conversations about get your farm animals, get your cats and your dogs out of the inside for the winter. Well, they don't need to be inside, but they do need shelter. They're just it's blizzard conditions. They're going to need a shelter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't expect them to just fend for themselves.
True. Yes. What kind of feed do you normally feed them? Do you feed them more in the winter?
That's a good question. Right now that I feed all my birds the same thing until breeding season. And right now since we're an organic farm, I can't afford the organic feed anymore because the prices have skyrocketed. So I do use a non-GMO feed, and they love it. They love fermented feed. They also, even though it's a mush, I can make it a thick mush, and they have no problems eating it. And I like to mix, I hydrate alfalfa pellets in there, and the chickens like that too, because alfalfa is kind of sweet. It's sweeter than hay, and it gives them some of the greens that they need. But the feed is a non-GMO chicken starter, so it has about 18% protein in it. And I keep all my birds on that all year long. I think it really helps them get through molt faster, gives them all the higher protein when they need it, and it doesn't hurt them. And when I go to brooding season, because they're away from the chickens, they're in their own brooder setup, and then they're secluded. So I do switch to off-lock, and I will continue doing the alfalfa pellets. But I also have a high tunnel that I have greens growing in, and they'll get fresh greens. And my garden is organic, so they'll get their fresh greens every day throughout, as long as the high tunnel doesn't freeze. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm sure they love that because geese are vegetarian.
Well, you say that.
Sometimes.
However, they eat cat food. So,
I believe it.
yeah, and they eat mealworms too. And I see them chasing crickets and grasshoppers, and it's bizarre because this time of year I like to throw out cat food right before night for the chickens to eat, and they're over there, they're chomping down on the cat food. Like, really, guys, you're supposed to eat it. And I have one of the gals that I'm working with, that I'm mentoring. She has a fountain that she puts little fish in, and her CPGs jumped in there and ate the little minnows. So
Really?
yeah, I'm like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And she's like, I'm telling you, they ate them all.
Wow.
So
I wouldn't have expected that from them.
I would not have either. They didn't eat the live mealworms I used to feed my chickens, but they love the dried one, and I can see that because it doesn't I don't think of it much as an insect more than it is. It's more as a treat or whatever. Can you still hear me? I just hit my husband's cord. But yeah, don't be surprised if they will eat some crickets or other bugs from time to time.
Well,
they don't like hornworms, though. They do not like hornworms.
That's so funny. Yeah, I feel like mine, I have a couple Sebastopol and a couple buffs, and they're like toddlers. They put everything in their mouth, like just walk around and try everything.
They do. They are. And the cotton patch are no different. I like to watch them out there, and they're, I've got my chicken coop and run. It's surrounded by plastic as well, because everybody gets a windbreak in their environment. And they're out there chewing on the edges, and it's just so weird. They're so funny. They're so funny. And I have a small chicken tractor that I keep it open because my livestock guarding dog, I don't know why, likes to go in it every now and then. It has doors at each end, and so the doors are always open. And Lovey was over at the door. He was just, pushing it closed and opening it, pushing it closed and opening it. And they have such personality. They're not just, they're so fun.
They are. They're just full of big personality.
They are. And each have their own personality, which is very interesting how different they are.
Absolutely. And you said yours run with your chickens and your turkeys? They get along okay?
Yeah. Everybody here free ranges except during breeding season. The geese for breeding season. And it's so I can separate the pairs adequately and keep them safe. So, I clip wings and I put them in their brooder setup, and until then, the geese will stay sequestered in their brooding facility for several months until the babies are old enough to run around with mom and dad.
Oh, that's sweet. And you received a microgrant to help with some of your facility setup.
I did. I was so thankful for that. Because I have 3 or 4 pair, having adequate space for brooding is really, really important. And in previous years, when I first got them, the first season, I wasn't ready because we had they started laying eggs in January, which was unusual, but we had a blizzard come through, and they had laid some eggs in their goose hut, which by no means is big enough. So I had to collect the eggs. I moved them into my high tunnel. So they had a 30 by 72 high tunnel, but they shared nests. And they each laid a lot of eggs, and there was a lot of egg sharing and egg stealing back and forth. So trying to get that, and it was just not a good environment. So the hatch rate, obviously, and the fertility rate was really, really low. Out of 3 geese, having 3 pair, we only had 7 goslings that even hatched. And I collected some of the eggs to incubate after mom left the nest. I grabbed some of what's left because, they'll leave if they've got 5 babies hatched and they still got eggs there. They're going to leave the nest. And so I collect those eggs and I put them in an incubator just to see what if they're fertilized or not. And they really weren't. So having the brooder set up allowed me to provide each pair with their own individual breeding environment away from the other ganders. It separated them so I knew exactly who mom and dad were, and was able to label the eggs as they came out. I watched them. They put a date on them all, an X and a 0. So I like to harass my geese during breeding season and check on them all the time. And, they'll hiss at you, but I found if I just lift up the bum of my goose, she'll be hissing at me, but she'll let me see. And last year, they started laying in February, late February, started breeding in January. Had them all set up and separated the first part of January. And I lost my train of thought there. Anyway, they started laying, and we had another Midwestern blizzard come through. So I wanted to make sure that the eggs were viable. So I collected all the eggs, had them all labeled, goose pen numbers. I know who mom and dad is and what date they were laid, and I had the X and the 0. And I would rotate them end to end every day until it got warm enough and it wasn't freezing at night, and I would put them back. And I let the goose, she was they were laying eggs every other day or every second, third day, whatever. And I would collect those And then towards the end, when I could see that in March, when the temperatures were not freezing so much at night, then I was able to put them all back. Last year when I did that, some geese will lay in their nest. They'll make a nice big nest, with all the bedding. Some won't. Some will dig a hole in the mud. So last year, one of my geese did that, and she's a mature, she's a mature goose, and this is not her first rodeo. She made a nest in the mud, and we had 2 inches of rain. And I went out there and I saw, a dozen of her eggs in the water, and I was mortified. Like, there is no way these eggs are going to survive. So I collected them, got one of those big, rubber feeders out, have them out there. So I moved them all and filled it full of her nesting material and put them all back. Everyone matched.
Really? Wow.
I was shocked.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I thought about bringing them in, putting them in the incubator, and like, you know what? I'm just going to see what happens. And everyone matched. So don't give up, folks.
That's so good to know, because I would have thought that's it.
I did too. And I'm like, there've been, I don't know how many hours I've been sitting in this water, because it's been 2 hours since I've been out here, and it's flooded. So they were in ice cold water, fully submerged for at least 2 hours. So I was shocked. Yeah. So by having the breeder that the microgrant helped me buy, we actually built it out of reclaimed materials, my husband and I. And we went from getting 7 goslings, which is a very, very poor with 3 pair. We increased the hatch rate and fertility rate 135% by having it. I was amazed, and I knew this. I knew it was going to be better, because we wouldn't have any nest sharing and fighting and stuff like that. It was just amazing. And what's even crazier, that out of all 3 geese, they had 5 boys and 4 girls. Every clutch. It was crazy. Yeah, crazy. And it was great. So kudos to my mentor, Denise Fry, who helps me a lot. Yeah, she's pretty amazing, as well as the Facebook group. Helped me understand the benefit of having no nest sharing. Even with the trio, my first year, I just had the trio, and it was not fun, because they were rolling those eggs back and forth, and they can't maintain that fertility if they're going to be moved around all the time. And it was just wonderful. So I ended up with 21 babies, or 27. No, I'm sorry, 27, because each one had 9, so that's 27. Sorry, my math. But it was so cute, because after they were all hatched, one clutch would hatch first, because one goose started laying before the others. It was like 1, 2, 3. It was crazy. And I had the youngest goose in the middle of them, and it was crazy, because Goose 1 and Goose 3, they started laying their clutch the first, and so I was able to tag each clutch with a different colored zip tie.
Oh, great.
And I was able to, it worked out well. And, I had to change it like twice, but that's a small sacrifice. I don't have any tags to put on their wings and stuff like that. And it's easy to do. And I had a waiting list of customers, so I knew that they would go quickly. And that's been the best thing too. So once everybody was tagged, I was able to let them all out and start to free range. And they all co-parent. And nothing's cuter than watching 27 goslings following moms and dads around the farm, because at that point they were free ranged, and they would return to their goose hut, and they took the dividers out, so it was just one big goose brooder, and it's 12 foot by 20 feet, so it's very large and very heavy. It's my husband believes in making things that are going to be tornado proof. I kid you not. If we have a tornado around here, we have a basement, we will go out and we will hunker down in the chicken coop, because it's got 4x4 corner posts, 6 feet deep. The brooder is portable, but the skids are 4x4s.
Wow.
So it's not going anywhere. It takes a pickup or the tractor to pull it and move it out of the way. And one thing about having it be portable, yes, during brooding season, it is stationary, because it's not going anywhere until everybody's done brooding. and everybody's hatched out. But I can move it, which I was able to do to give them clean bedding. It's, it's so hard to when you've got all those babies in these brooders to keep them clean. And I like them to have fresh grass. My dog just opened the office door. And so I was able to move it just a few feet down because geese don't like change. You do too much, they are going to reject it. So you move it a few feet each day, and they corral them in, and they all would go in at night on their own, which was it was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 135%.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
I was. Yeah,
oh, man.
And we had 2 clutches that had 3 eggs each that didn't hatch, and they weren't even fertile. So again, fertility rate and hatch rate, 135% increase just by ensuring each pair has their own environment away from the others. You know exactly the parentage, and then because I had 3 clutches going, I knew who I could mix and match with. And get the best genetics. Like one person didn't want any pied carriers, and she didn't want any pies. So, mom goose 1 and 3, I could pair those up. One gal, she wanted pies. And thankfully, I had 1 pied female, and then a pied carrier. So when she breeds those, she'll end up with probably more pie than she would be the pied carriers / solids. So, yeah, it makes it so much easier. And your record keeping is important. Because you need to remember, and and Denise taught me this, when you sell your goslings, you need to give them a piece of paper that gives them the parentage. Even though these are land race, even though they're not registered and they don't have a standard, but we have land race qualities, characteristics that we expect in these cotton patch geese. And being sexually dimorphic at hatch is the biggest one. And for the females to be have grays in it, and the males to be white. So that's important that you have those, you work towards those guidelines and stuff. So each one of my customers, they'll get a sheet of paper that has their parentage from and their hatch date. So they have no question. And then I keep those too, because then I have return customers, and they'll want another pair, or just another female. So I know exactly who they shouldn't have, because one might be too closely related. And I don't like to line breed the geese. There's nothing wrong with it. I want to ensure diverse genetics as much as possible. And learning that has just been good. I mean, I haven't had any issues, but I've never line bred them either. And I don't like line breed my chickens either. I like to know exactly. I want the diverse genetics, and I don't want them to be close together. I don't want to breed for potential mutations or sick birds, unhealthy birds or whatever. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Record keeping is very, very important. And especially in a breed that's it went from critical to threatened, which is just such fantastic news. We're so excited about that. And, that's all down to wonderful people like you and other people that are raising them, and are really into their genetics and keeping it going. So thank you to everyone for that. That's always amazing. And we're so excited about that.
It only took 10, 15 years to get from,
just a few.
It's just a few years, but it's a lot of that is getting the word out about geese. So many people that I've told I have geese. Oh, I was chased by a goose when I was a kid. Okay, everybody's got a story like that. I was chased by a rooster when I was little too, but you don't see me running from my chickens, right? Each breed of goose has different personalities and different temperaments, and having the sweet temperament is another reason why I chose cotton patch geese, because I do have grandkids, and I don't want to be chased by any of my livestock. If I have a meanie, they're gone. It's not tolerable. Even roosters. I have gotten rid of some beautiful, well-bred roosters because they were mean, and they breed that genetic tendency into their offspring. I have no room for that on my farm.
Nope. So. Absolutely. Would you want to take some questions from some of our listeners today?
Absolutely.
Let's see. Hi, Brett. Thanks for joining us today. It says, mine hate peafowl and vice versa. So
Yeah.
Don't put cotton patch with peafowl.
Yeah, no. And if you can, like I said earlier on, if you can provide them with a separate environment, especially if you have a lot of cotton patch geese, because they are the bullies of the barnyard. So yeah, I'm not surprised. And they do bust my chickens around. At feeding time, I have to close my chickens in the run because, everybody has their feeding spots, and I have 3 feeding pans out in my pen, in my free range area that the geese will get to. And so I have to keep my chickens separate because they all go inside and eat their food first. And then, yeah, keep them separate if possible. Even a temporary fence around them, Premier One, snow fencing, whatever, is a temporary fence to keep them separate if you can. That's funny.
Hi, Nancy. Thanks for joining us today. Nancy says, can you please describe what your brooder units look like, dimensions and materials?
Yeah, I did a long video last year, or actually earlier this year, showing it. But we used an old carport, and we cut two feet off of the height of it. I just wanted to be able to stand in it. My husband's 6'3", and he wanted to be able to walk through it without knocking himself out too. Like I said, we used a lot of reclaimed materials. It was, by the time I submitted the grant, COVID hit and prices just tripled. Wood prices were out of sight. So we used we bought a used carport frame, cut the 2 feet off of it, and it's 12 feet by 20 feet. So it's pretty long. The bottom of it, we put around the bottom, it's a frame that we reinforce with wood. The skids are 4x4s, the corners are 4x4s, a lot of 2x4s in there, a lot of heavy duty wood. It wasn't cheap to build, but the grant helped me a great deal. And if, I would so recommend submitting for a grant. And you can ask any of us moderators on the Facebook group how to write the grant, and we will be more than willing to help you. So each section, so the goose brooder is cut in 3s. So each section is like take 20 feet and divide it by 3. So it's divided that away. And I don't have the exact dimensions because I can't do math that fast in my head. But each goose pair does have their own fenced in area. So I use Premier One fencing to give each pair their own outdoor pen area. So, because Mama's inside and Gander, he's, they need to get some outside range and, walking time. And that's where I would keep their water pan. Denise Fry turned me on to these concrete mixer trays that are perfect. And I was like, I've been spending $30 for swimming pools, the plastic pools, kiddie pools that don't last hardly one season. And these concrete mixing trays from Lowe's are perfect. And they're just the right size and right depth, and the geese can slide in and out of them without any worry. It's just amazing. So I had 3 of those, and each pair also had a bucket just for drinking water, so they couldn't get in. They can't get in there. I want them to have fresh drinking water because they're gonna poop in their breeding water pen. So, and I kept it close to the house. I mean, it's not super close. It's probably 50 feet from the house, and I've got a hose that I can run out there and get them fresh water every day. But again, no heat. So anyway, the bottom half is wire meshed. And then the top, the roof, we have a metal roof. We used reclaimed tin for the roof. And then about 18 inches or 2 feet from the roof line is more reclaimed tin. Because at any part of the day, any time of the day, they have shade. Because, it's not just an open side completely. It's 18 inches or so down from the rooftop. And that's important in those hot days because in March, April in Kansas, we have weird weather. We're in the Midwest, and it can go from 20 degrees to 50 degrees in a day. We're going to see tomorrow. And I want them to have shade. And plus they use that all through the breeding season until all of the babies are either sold or mature, and they don't need that anymore. But it gives them the shade. And each end has their own door, so I'm able to come in and out. In the wintertime, like all of my other birds, I do use a plastic tarp type of cloth around the exterior to give that windbreak. And that means everything to the survival of those eggs and the goslings. it makes it warm in there. Their bodies, even though the roof is probably, the pitch is probably 6 foot tall, just enough for my husband to barely get in there. But they are able to stay warm when you give them that good windbreak, and the babies have no problem surviving. I hope that helped. Search for my name on the Cotton Patch Geese Society Facebook group, and you'll see one of the long videos that shows you my brooder. It's big, and it does have to be pulled by a tractor or a truck, something heavy, and it's not going anywhere. I don't think a tornado can even move it. We're up on a hill, so we are regularly getting 40 to 50 mile an hour winds all year long, and it doesn't go anywhere. None of our brooders or chicken tractors go anywhere. They have to be pulled. So
That's great.
yeah, you don't have to be that big or fancy. You can get a dog crate, a plastic dog crate, just as long as they have that windbreak and can protect them from that wind. Just wrap it in plastic or whatever. It doesn't have to be fancy at all, and it doesn't have to be very big. I've seen people use small dog crates, but I like to be able to get in and look at the nest on a daily basis because I'm weird. I'm overly protective, and I want to see them, and I want to check on them, and it's the way I do it.
That's great. No, that's awesome. Let's see. That says, what do you do when you have orange-billed and feet CPG, so cotton patch geese?
Luckily, I've not had that happen. And a lot of that is having the genetic diversity and knowing exactly who you're buying your CPG from and knowing the genetics that they have. I think I've mentioned a couple times, Denise Fry's my mentor, right? And I've gotten practically all of my breeding stock from her. I recently just got 2 young geese shipped from her earlier, just a couple months ago, actually. And you need to buy from a reputable breeder. You need to ask questions. And if you end up with non-standard or non-guideline geese, you need to ask a lot of questions. If they can't provide you the foundation stock that they came from, that's a red flag. If you ask them questions about their breeding policies and they don't really have any, that's a red flag. Okay, so I haven't had it happen, and if I ever have it happen, I know who I got my geese from, and we can have a conversation. It happens from time to time, but luckily I have not had that happen. And if it did happen, they would be removed from any breeding program, and I would sell them as a pet. And I do have a gal friend. They've got a farm. They've got lots of ponds, and they will take any that I don't want to for breeding. They'll take them, and they just roam around with the llamas and all the other. There's no breeding going on, and I trust her to do that for me.
Great question.
Yeah, good question, Brett.
Let's see. Brett also wants to know, could you tell people about the different lines of CPG that may not be familiar with them?
There's more lines than I know, I'm learning all the time, because it's important to work with somebody, a mentor. I cannot stress that enough. There's so many people in the CPG world that would be happy to help and educate you. So find a mentor if you can. Walker, James, C. Summerall is a line. I think that's fairly new. Franklin is an older line that I don't know if there's any out there. There's other lines that people, come up their own, but mine are all James Walker composites, and that to me is important. So it's whatever you want to the bird that you like. And the reason I like the Walker or James, because they are more solids, and I like the solid geese coloring better than the pied. There's nothing wrong with pied. I'm just saying that's my personal preference. So I want to know that I'm getting mostly gray geese. And out of the 4 years that I've been breeding the cotton patch, I've only ever had one pied female. And she's gone to one of my friends that she's going to be starting. She's got 2 pair now. And she likes the pied, and her name is Piper. And hi, Susan, if you're out there. So, there's multiple lines. I like to stick with known foundation lines, but there's nothing wrong with buying other people that have their own developed lines. It's just genetic diversity. Again, knowing your breeder, trusting your breeder, and go visit them if you can at all possible. I invite people to come tour my farm all the time, and I provide them tons of pictures. I've got pictures on our farm website, Facebook page, and website. I'm very transparent. If your breeder doesn't want to be transparent with you, that's a red flag. There's, shipping doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg. There's lots of different transport companies out there, and when I got 2 young ganders, it was pretty expensive, and I got them from, I can't remember her name now, it's Marianne or something like that. She was selling out her flock as she was moving. It cost me $600. That to me was pretty pricey. And the ganders or the geese that I got this year was like a quarter of that. It's just, you gotta look around and stuff. But transporting from other states is really a good idea, and it doesn't harm the geese at all. So, especially if it's a good transport company. So.
Great. Let's see. Someone else says some more of the lines are Castleberry, Franklin, Ralph Wright, Hattiesburg, or a few more.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot more than I'm not an expert, and I'm only 4 years into this myself. So I consider myself a novice, and that's why it's so important to have a mentor.
Absolutely. Mentors are so important. Mm-hmm. They make things easier to ask questions, and you're always learning. And so anytime you can find a mentor for whatever you're doing on your farm, it's really important to do so, especially if you're working with heritage breeds. It makes all the difference. Well, if anybody else has other questions, feel free to write them in and let us know. Be happy to answer them for a few more minutes. Audrey, is there anything else people should know about Cotton Patch? How are they a little bit different than other breeds? You said that they fly.
They do fly. And you and I were talking earlier. It's interesting that when I sell Goslings that are really, really young and haven't been raised by mom and dad, they don't fly nearly, if at all, or as early as Goslings that are raised with mom and dad. They do fly, and I would highly recommend, if you're going to clip a wing, clip the whole thing. Because even if you leave a couple of primary feathers on there, they can fly. And the determined goose will fly over the fence. I've witnessed it. So, the 2 young geese that I got, they were clipped with a couple primaries on the end, and they promptly flew over the 4-foot fence. And it's like, I'm never going to get you back. I don't know what to do. So they just followed my other geese around. So I was lucky. With that. Yeah, I have a horror story for you about flying geese. Well, I was horrified, but it turned out okay in the end. I was trying to get because I have these 2 new geese that always creates chaos among the flock, because oh my God, there's change, and there's 2 new geese, and I don't know what to do. So to get them in their enclosure at night, everybody gets secured at night. Even though I have a livestock guardian dog, it's just do it, please. Just secure your animals at night if you can. So this one young gander of mine that hatched out this year, he wasn't complying, and I couldn't shoo him in. I put up a temporary fence and made like a funnel for them to go through, and he was not having it. And an hour and a half later, he's the only one that's not in the hutch at this time. I'm out there. My daughter calls. I'm using all kinds of words that she's never heard me say about trying to get this goose. And it's dark now. It is dark. And he looks at me and he's like, I'm not having it. He takes off flying like a freaking wild goose, way up high into the treetops, into our other pasture next door. I could not see him. I could not hear him. I was like, you're going to be coyote food. We have 60 acres, and there's lots of coyotes out here, and you're gone. I'm sorry, Mr. Goose. You're gone. About midnight, I heard my dog barking, and I heard him quacking, and he came back. And in the morning, no, I did not get out there at midnight and secure him. I was like, I'm sleeping. I was horrified. I was mortified. Yeah. It was like, surely he's going to become a coyote dinner. And that's just, it's heartbreaking to me. But they fly. I mean, he took off. There's no running to, taking a run like a runway or whatever. It's just up and out, and he was gone. And I've had another one of my ganders fly up over the top of 100-foot tree and off. But they do come back, and well, mine did, thank goodness. But if you don't want them flying, clip their wings, clip a wing, and do it completely.
Yeah, that's good to know. Man, I'm so glad you got him back. That was probably heartbreaking. It like gave you a heart attack. Like
I was sick to my stomach. I mean, I walked out there and I couldn't see him. It's dark, and I had my flashlight. I'm like, surely his white feathers will show up. Nope. He was hunkered down on the tall grass, and there's lots of trees over there. So he made it back safe. So I was thankful for that.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, yes, that's really important information to clip the rings and clip them correctly so you don't have that happen. Let's see. I think we got one more question. They would like to know, what are you feeding your geese from adult to goslings?
Good question. And it depends on the time of the year. If it's breeding season, I use all flock and hydrated alfalfa pellets in a pan, and they will all eat that. That's with the goslings. And then when the goslings start hatching, I make what's called a chick tea. And someone from the Cotton Patch Geese Facebook group provided the recipe. So I have that recipe, and I have found it super helpful in making sure that the goslings get off to a good start. You only have to give it to them for the first week and make sure that it has all the appropriate niacin, vitamin B, and all that kind of stuff in it. And I put it in a small waterer that the geese, the parents can't get their bills in, so they can't consume it. And it wouldn't hurt them if they did. It's just I want it to be just for the babies. And it's got a little bit of molasses and a little bit of this and that, but I'll be happy to share that. The rest of the year, all of my birds eat the same thing. I get a non-GMO chicken starter that's 18% protein. I don't feed anything that's higher than the 18%, 19% or more. You can have angel wing, and that's just it's not something that you want to have happen. And that's nutrition-based problem. It's not a genetic-based problem. So stay under 19%, 18% is fine. And they love that. Everybody gets the same thing. I'm not having ManaPro as a wonderful product, but for my farm, I have to be cost effective because we are a functioning farm, and I do sell stuff. So I have to be cost wise, right? So it has to be beneficial. So me having one feed that fits the bill for everything is very helpful. In the wintertime, all flock, it's not cheap, right? And is it called Missouri or Nazari? Has a real good product too, but man, I cannot afford that.
That's very expensive.
Too expensive, and everybody thrives on what I feed, so I'm not worried about it at all. So the goslings, when they hatch, they'll get the chick tea for about a week, and then they're eating the all flock too. And then when everybody is free range, and the all flock is gone, I'm talking about the goslings being a couple months old at this point, and they're starting to feather in. And then I switch their feed to what the chickens are eating.
Great question.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Well, at what age are you letting your goslings out on pasture and out of the brooder?
That's a good question. Probably about 2 weeks old.
Okay.
As long as I've got everybody marked, everybody's hatched out, or tagged, I should say. Then I open the pens and everybody goes out. About 2 weeks of age. And it would also depend on the weather. Here in March, April, May timeframe, it's pretty warm, so they're not going to freeze during the day. But everybody goes back in at night. Everybody's secure at night. In my wonderful goose brooder that the microgrant.
That's excellent.
To build. Yeah.
Great. Let's see. We have another question. This Facebook user would like to know, what age are you selling your goslings, and do you ship your results in shipping if you do?
That's a very good question. I don't ship because I'm not NPIP certified. Yeah. The reason I don't do that is because you have to make sure that your geese are completely separate from all the other, any other bird, any other chickens, turkeys, whatever. And I can't guarantee that. I can only do that during brooding and breeding season. But I believe in free ranging. So I tell people that I don't care if you don't want to buy them from me because they're not NPIP certified, that's fine. Someone else will, or, I try to sell goslings at an age appropriate to the person that I'm selling them to. If it's a first time person, they're going to have to wait until the gosling is at least 2 months old. And if they're experienced, I'll let them go as young as 2 weeks old. I don't like doing that, but if they have to be an experienced goose person and a returning customer. And I don't sell my goslings to just anybody. If someone has got other bird breeds running around, and I don't feel confident, I ask a lot of probing questions in the beginning. I don't feel confident that they can keep the breeds separate, I won't sell them. And I tell them that you can't keep them separate. I don't like the environment. I don't say it quite that bluntly, but or the environment. If they're going to be penned for the rest of their life, I don't like that idea either. I think having your birds being able to move around as naturally as possible, as God intended, I think is the most important. And if you're going to buy some of my geese and you're going to put them in a small pen for the rest of their life, I'm not going to do that to them. I will keep them here forever if that's what it takes. Shipping, I've had a lot of people ship that have had wonderful results, but it does depend on the age of the bird. It hasn't always turned out perfectly. Reputable shipper that knows what they're doing, age appropriate. I wouldn't ever ship something that's a couple of days old, but that's just me. And a lot of people do it and have great success doing it. But I'm a mother hen or mother goose and just prefer not to do that to them. So it's a personal preference, really.
Great question. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for joining us today. Yes. Kathy says, can you speak about winter care in the Midwest with low temperatures below freezing?
Yes. I've talked a couple times about having a windbreak environment for all of my birds. So all of my pens and runs get wrapped with it's a braided plastic tarp. And I get it from Amazon. It's not very expensive. And I think you can get it in 20 feet long sheets, sections or whatever. You can cut it easily. And I'm in my 5th year of reusing it. So it's so sturdy and it's got little tiny square fibers going through it that I can surround all of my enclosures with it. And I can use the washers and screws to go into, to keep the plastic in place, because the rivets aren't always going to be in the right place. Or you can, use a rivet maker, a rivet gun, if that works for you. But I like to use the washers because it gives a bigger surface for the plastic and the wind won't tear it. And it's most important to cover the northeast side of your enclosure, because in the wintertime, that's where your breeze comes from. Excuse me. Providing plenty of nesting materials that's deep enough for them to keep their feet warm is also important. It's just, you don't have to have something fancy. It can be a dog crate that, as long as it's covered with plastic, can give them a windproof environment and deep bedding. And I'm in Kansas, so I'm very familiar with Midwest temperatures and 40 to 50 mile an hour winds all year long here. We're on a hill too, so that doesn't help. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Kathy. That's a great question. And one more from Brett. Do you use hay, straw, or shavings for natural nesters?
Very good question. I like to use hay. A lot of people like to use straw, but we have hay on the farm because we have livestock. I have horses. I don't have cattle or anything, but we have pastures just for hay production, and I haven't had any issues with them using hay. Straw, to me, it's hollow, and it can harbor mites. And one year I used straw in my chickens, and I was very upset because every one of them ended up with mites from the straw, because these mites hide in the straw because it's hollow. Hay is not hollow, so they're not going to get mites from that. And I have lots of it, so I can keep adding to it. It does get beaten down, and my first layer is usually pine shavings, and I buy the big ones, and I'll just flood it, right? And that's going to get beaten down, but to me that gives a nice barrier between the frozen ground and any moisture. And then I'll put hay on top of that. And then Mama, she will take what she wants, and she always gathers the hay, and then she'll pull her feathers and she'll make a beautiful nest. So good question. Everybody has their own thing. In the fall, I collect as many fall leaves as I possibly can, and that's what I use in the springtime for their bedding in their when everybody's hatched out and stuff, and I just have the adults left, I use dried leaves for their bedding in their goose hut until I'm out. And then I use, for the goose hut, when I don't have babies, is shavings. So I only use the hay when they're brooding.
Great. What a great question.
Yeah.
Well, it is 10 till the end of the hour, so I think that we are going to wrap things up. But I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for all of your wonderful questions today. This was wonderful. And thank you to Audrey for being here and to talking about cotton patch geese and letting us know about this wonderful breed and answering questions. So we appreciate you spending your time here with us today.
Absolutely. I've hoped I've helped some people and sparked interest in others, if not. But feel free to reach out to me on social media. There's lots of us that are moderators of the Cotton Patch Goose Society Facebook page, and that has helped the breed grow a lot. Social media I think is key to a lot of things, a lot of education out there. Denise has done a great job writing some articles. Livestock Conservancy posted one of her articles yesterday, I think. And it was a really good article. It's still extremely relevant, even though it's a couple of years old. So the information hasn't really changed. But get a mentor. Ask questions. Find a breeder that you can trust. Ask questions. That to me is the biggest takeaway, really.
Absolutely. And if people are looking for the Cotton Patch Goose online on Facebook, where do they go for that?
They can search Cotton Patch Goose Society.
Cotton Patch Goose
Facebook.
Society.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Yeah. Awesome. So yes, I encourage everyone to go check that out, learn some more things about cotton patch geese. They're truly wonderful and amazing. Yeah.
My favorite. I just love them. So personable and so sweet and really good with young children. They are not aggressive. And even at brooding time, I can go lift my geese up off of the nest. And she's snaking, she's doing snaky neck at me and hissing me, but she doesn't hurt me. So I can pick her up and look at the goslings underneath to make sure everybody's still alive and stuff. But they're just really well-tempered geese. And my favorite characteristic by far is the being auto-sexing breed. So.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful thing about them, and it makes things a lot easier when they're little.
Yeah. I'll never have a non-auto-sexing breed of geese ever again. My chickens are bad enough, so it's like you got to wait 4 months until you're really sure. So
that's right.
But not with these geese. So yeah, you won't regret it. I mean, they make a great homestead goose. A land race again is different than a registered breed because they're not registered. So it's a little different and it's a little difficult to explain sometimes, but there are the characteristics that you want. And the pink bill and the pink legs is one of them. Sexual dimorphism at hatch, auto-sexing, you can tell male from female. And that the ganders majority of them are white. They will have a gray feather or two throughout their life, but they'll change colors too throughout their life too. And I like the solids in the goose because that's my favorite. I just think that's stunning to have all that gray and then the feathers lined with darker gray. It's they're just an elegant breed too. To me, they're a close second to swan. So they're lovely. They walk around with their necks tucked, their chin tucked, and they just look so regal and they're very personable. And mine are not pets. I can't go out and just get one. I can't go grab one. And that's okay because I want mine to be as natural and predator-proof as possible. And having them been able to fly and free range are really important because they can fly from predators. And yes, I have all the protections in place possible, but something's going to happen. Last year, I had 2 young coyotes that walked 50 feet up from my back door and went out and took off with a couple of my young chicken poults.
Oh no!
And I have a livestock guardian dog. But it's not foolproof. None of your security systems are foolproof. And I think we saw that this year on the Facebook group when people had a bear. One person had a bear come into their barn and destroy their entire flock. That's going to happen. It's devastating. Yeah. And you can only do so much. But do what you can to protect them from predators.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially with heritage breeds and that are so critical and, protections are important. But We do love that they're natural, and that's
Yeah.
one of the most important, wonderful things we love about them.
I don't think we talked either about being a farm animal, being livestock. Consuming them and eating their eggs are important features of that too. And yes, they are a threatened species, and it may seem counterproductive to consume the offsprings that don't make it to breeding or aren't breed quality, because there are some that are not breeding quality.
Oh, of course.
Being able to consume them like you would your own chickens. We raise broilers and we eat the roosters that extra roosters here. You need to treat them like livestock if you feel comfortable doing that. And I find it very difficult to process them, and I don't think I can. I haven't processed any of mine yet, and I've got 3 that need to be. I'll probably take them to a processor because I don't think I can do it. I'm weak-hearted, I guess. I don't know, but I can do my chickens.
That's okay.
I can process my chickens. I don't know why it's different, but they are different. So being able to, I do love them, yeah. And their eggs, I mean, they are huge 7-ounce eggs, and it's all yolk, and it's best for baking, and it's all yolk, and there's nothing wrong, especially for the first couple of eggs that are laid by maiden geese, may not be fertilized. So just count on that. Just, grab the first couple of eggs and consume them. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you can let them lay the rest and, sit on that clutch. But being able to consume them for meals, that's part of a livestock animal. And that's part of the one of the beautiful things about having the land race is that you need to eat them.
Absolutely.
So,
yes, that's what they were bred for. So
yeah,
absolutely. Eat them, enjoy them. I can tell you Goose is delicious and I love it.
yeah. And not every goose is breed quality, people. You have to, when you buy them so young, a lot of the characteristics won't show up until they're older. So by that time, I may have already sold a pair, and that they're not breeding quality. Don't continue to try to breed that one. Come back to your breeder and say, hey, this one's got XYZ. Do you have another? Don't just go ahead and breed them knowing that they're not breed quality. Maybe I've got a crooked neck, or maybe they're all orange, or maybe my gander has way too many gray feathers. Maybe he's got gray wings or something. That's not a breeding quality goose, and understand that. And that's why having a mentor and knowing your breeder are really important. So you can ask those questions.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Very important. Great. Well, is there anything else you?
I could talk forever. We could talk all day about cotton patch.
Absolutely. We could talk goose all day. It would be my favorite day ever.
We could. This has been really enjoyable, and it's been an honor that you guys would ask for me to be part of your Goose Month. It's been really great seeing all the different breeds of geese out there that people don't even realize, and it's an education place. So utilize the Livestock Conservancy website to learn a lot. I started there when I learned about the cotton patch geese after reading Denise's article 4 years ago, on Facebook, and started from there. So
that's awesome.
Social media is a great learning tool as well. I haven't gone to YouTube for anything on cotton patch. I guess there might be something out there. I don't know. But I utilize the Facebook group a lot, and Messenger and chat and phone calls. So
absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of different geese on our list. And so whatever you're looking for on your farm, there's probably a goose for you, but definitely do your research ahead of time and figure out what you're looking for and how they can fit into your plan for your farm. Because you want them to be in the right climate, in the right area, and you want them to do the right job for you and to fit into what, of course you want them to think that they're beautiful and everything.
Yeah, they're great fertilizers too.
Yes.
We have a 2-acre front yard, and we don't put any fertilizers, or we don't use any chemicals. And this year when I was mowing my front yard, it was the thickest grass ever.
I'm sure.
Because all those 27 goslings and all the adults are around there eating grass and pooping everywhere. And it's just like wow, in one season, that made a huge difference. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. I have a Sebastopol, and I call her my diva lawnmower.
Yeah.
My lawn looks beautiful.
Yeah. And if you think they're not going to eat your garden up,
they
wrong.
They
Wrong.
eat everything.
They will eat everything, and I have to put a temporary fence around my garden. So, FYI, if you're going to buy a cotton patch to weed your garden, no, don't do that because they will eat everything. They make a great orchard bird, or if you're just growing corn, something they can't destroy. Wait until the corn's tall enough, pretty big, because they'll eat it. I've had them sneak into my garden and chop down all of my vegetables. It's not fun, guys. It's a lot of work, right? Then it's okay, but something that they can't destroy. And berries, if you grow berries, make sure that the berries are high up off the ground where they can't get clipped wings, But yeah, don't get them if you think they're gonna weed your garden with your produce.
Oh, no.
They will love your garden. Yeah.
They will eat all of it. My geese are like toddlers. They put everything in their mouth and
Exactly.
they just eat all of it. Like
Yeah.
I had pansies at one point for like 2
Mhm.
days and then they were completely gone.
Yeah. They will. Even if they don't like it, they're gonna pull it out and taste it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I'm
know
sure.
that going in.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you again, Audrey. We really appreciate you being here and sharing your knowledge and expertise. And thank you to Mana Pro for sponsoring today. We appreciate you. And thank you to all of our wonderful question askers today. We appreciate you being a part of the conversation. And thank you to all of our Livestock Conservancy members and supporters. We appreciate you supporting education and outreach like Goose Chats. So thank you for that. If you're not a member and you'd like to become a member, you can go to our website. That's livestockconservancy.org. And then I will also plug our microgrants program. So we give out microgrants once a year in the spring, and then we'll be announcing our 22 recipients in January. So be on the lookout for that. And then if you would like to apply for one, those open at the end of May, beginning of June. So we hope all of you will apply for some awesome Cotton Patch Goose projects. We always love those. And I think that's it. Have I missed anything, Audrey? Is there anything else you'd like to plug?
No, not really. Just get geese and love them because you won't turn back. So.
Absolutely. Start with chickens and you graduate to geese and then it's turkeys and then everything's all over.
Yep. It is. Yeah.
Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season, and we'll be back again next week to talk a little bit about Marketing Mondays. So if you want to talk about marketing your geese or any other farm livestock, we will be back to chat about that, and we will see you then. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.